Hi everyone, welcome to Jamaica Magazine. It's our pleasure to have you on board as we turn the pages for another informative half-hour journey. Coming up, we will be exploring ways to improve parenting skills and child development. Plus, a look at the important actions we all need to take to tackle our disease burdens. Sit back and relax for these and more interesting features. Stay with us.
Find out where you are to vote by calling the EOJ or checking the EOJ website. Remember to bring your voter ID card. Current voter ID cards are valid until December 2020. Remember, you may still vote without your ID card, but the process will be longer. Listen to the instructions of the presiding officer. Mark your ballot behind the voting booth and return your ballot to the presiding officer folded. Once the counterfoil is removed, your ballot cannot be traced back to you. Dip your finger in the ink and watch as your ballot is deposited into the ballot box.
Your vote is your voice. Make it count.
Jamaica, I can help you protect our citizens.
Jamaica Eye will play a part in increasing your public safety.
Jamaica Eye is part of an island-wide network of camera surveillance systems designed to increase the safety of you, our citizens. If you have a camera system outside your home or office facing a public space, log on to jamaicaeye.gov.jm today. Jamaica Eye, we're all connected. The Ministry of National Security, creating a safer and prosperous Jamaica.
Proper parenting is important for ensuring children will grow up to be their best. This is never an easy task, so we thought we'd help. Keep watching for examples of good parenting skills to help you nurture the little ones from a tender age.
Parenting can be very frustrating, and a lot of times people don't feel like they really have an answer to everything, and the truth is that that is the reality. But there are different things that people can try. We're not saying that any one thing works for everybody or that you'll even get the outcome that you want immediately. Especially when you're dealing with young children, you might have to try something several times before you see a particular result. So for example, if it is that you want a child to learn the difference between right and wrong, a lot of times in the past we use pain to teach that this is wrong, right? But we find that ultimately when you hit a child, what you're teaching them to do is when I don't like something, I should hit and I should lash out. What you want to try in a situation like that, you can try removing privileges. If there are things that the child might love to do, or even the age-old timeout, where you say, listen, for this period, you have to sit by yourself, there's no communication, there's no talking, sit down and be still. Sometimes you have to physically just hold your child and help them to breathe through it, because you have some children where they have so much emotion and so much anger and they want to get it out that it's really difficult for them to regulate it at such a young age. And so you have to physically hold them, put your hand on them, help them to breathe through it until they're calm. And with children, even if they don't understand necessarily the big concepts of right and wrong, they can sometimes understand tone. Right? And tone is not the same thing as lashing out and using certain words and calling them different names. Tone is being firm and saying, I do not want you on this. So for example, if a child keeps going up on something, you might have to take them off it 10 times, right? And continue to reinforce with the same tone and consistency that you do not want them on this. And also for younger children, sometimes you have to be the one to remove whatever it is that you don't want them to interact with from the environment, right? Because they're so young and so impulsive, you can't necessarily leave it to them to understand I shouldn't touch this thing, right? So that's how we deal with the younger children.
An important message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness. What to do if you think you have been exposed or are experiencing signs and symptoms of COVID-19. Immediately call 888-1-LOVE. That's 888-663-5683. In addition, you should stay at home. Don't go to work, school, or any public place. Do not use public transport, and avoid visitors to your home. You may need to do this for up to 14 days to reduce the spread of the infection. A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
We're still on the parenting track. This time, the National Parenting Support Commission is on board, delivering useful advice to ensure more effective child protection and development. Take a look.
Wouldn't it be great if children came into the world so well-adjusted or with manuals, therefore eliminating the need for parental discipline? This is not the case, however. Parents usually apply their methods or they depend on strategies taught throughout generations to guide their children.
8 in 10 Jamaican children in the 2 to 14 years age group experience violence as a form of discipline.
Coercive parenting involves the physical administration of pain as punishment. It also includes the use of harsh language that has the potential to hurt children's feelings and affect their general self-esteem and development. It also fosters aggression, because what you're really teaching children is that when there is an issue, we must resolve the issue through harshness, through aggression, through coarse language. There's a direct correlation between coercive parenting and the aggression that we see actually in society.
Damaging disciplinary practices have moved outside of the home and into the national consciousness.
The time has come for the Parliament to have a debate on this issue and finally declare corporal punishment at an end, both within public institutions and as a means of discipline available to parents. I think it would be a forward-leaning step in making a stance against violence generally, and it would send a powerful message about the state respecting the inviolability of the person, whether or not that person is a child or an adult.
Children need guidance, and many wonder if not with the rod, then how? Enter the National Parenting Support Commission, NPSC, an agency of the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information. The ministry established the commission in 2012 to provide parents with the requisite skills and tools to raise children.
We work at 3 tiers. We work at home, school, and community. Our first and most important priority, however, is to ensure that we're fostering the home-school relationship. We must ensure that parents as key stakeholders feel involved in the entire process of educating their children.
Now, to do this, the Commission assists parents in several ways, including providing psychosocial support, assisting parents with understanding the teaching-learning process, and conducting parenting education programs.
Through our effective parenting courses, we push proactive strategies. In other words, you are going to put structures in place before behaviors that you don't desire actually show.
Parents and guardians should consider the child's developmental stage when determining the best method of guidance.
A child who is very young, we encourage play. The child must be playing, and even the teaching learning processes must include play, because this is how they develop their imagination, their creative skills. This is how they also learn to resolve issues and to problem solve.
Young children, especially infants, are at the stage where they don't know right from wrong, and they can be impulsive. They may touch items that are valuable or dangerous. Usually, it is best to remove the child or the object from such a situation.
We don't believe you're to spank any at all, because that's a part of coercive parenting, and we don't believe that coercive parenting works. So what we encourage you to do, though, is to be firm and to be consistent. So if it means you have to say, do this instead, or do not go there a million times, then that's what you have to be prepared to do.
The teenage years can challenge both children and parents. With the physical and chemical changes happening in the body, teens may act out as they may be unsure of their place in the world.
This can be a very difficult time to navigate. So we ask that you start relaxing some of the very stringent rules, and you also have conversations and you compromise.
And to address challenges, caregivers can remove privileges.
If the child becomes stubborn, has a fixed mindset, if you will, that this is what he or she is going to continue to do, then you might need professional help. You might need to call the commission, or you might need to call a social worker or a guidance counselor to help.
Being a proactive parent means setting clear boundaries, letting children know what is acceptable behaviors and why rules are in place. And don't forget to model behaviors you want young ones to display. There may not be a one-size-fits-all for raising children. By assessing the right information and using effective parenting techniques, we can nurture adults willing to play their part in making Jamaica the place of choice to live, work, raise families, and do business. To tap into information from the National Parenting Support Commission, call 876-967-7977 or visit their offices at 37 Arnold Road, Kingston 6.
Mosquitoes will breed in containers that hold water. Tightly cover water storage containers such as drums, buckets and tanks, or cover the water surface with cooking oil. Punch holes in all tins, plastic containers and boxes to prevent the collection of water before disposal. Cover old tires or fill with dirt. Scrub all vases once per week to remove mosquito eggs and dispose of garbage by placing in plastic bags. Do your part to prevent mosquito breeding. A message from the Ministry of Health.
We all must take responsibility for our health by seeking out the right information and taking the appropriate actions. That includes controlling the mosquito vectors that transmit diseases like dengue fever. Here is what you should know about dengue fever and getting rid of the Aedes aegypti mosquito that transmits it to humans.
Dengue fever is a vector-borne disease carried by the Aedes aegypti mosquito. It is caused by the flavivirus and occurs in either a mild or severe form in tropical and subtropical areas of the world. Globally, 50 to 100 million cases of dengue are seen yearly.
Dengue is endemic to Jamaica, meaning that since its introduction in 1977, we have cases that occur every year. The cases of dengue fever, including severe dengue, can occur at any time throughout the year. An outbreak is declared when the number of cases increase above the usual that is expected for that time of the year.
Dengue is transmitted to humans by the bite of the infected female mosquito. Symptoms typically begin 3 to 14 days after someone gets infected with the virus. Symptoms can last from 2 to 7 days.
The incubation period is usually 4 to 10 days, and illness begins abruptly, and there are essentially 3 phases of the illness. First phase is where you have the fever. The second phase that you can go into is a critical phase, and then you have a recovery phase.
Over 70% of persons who contract the disease usually experience mild symptoms. Persons affected by the mild form of the disease may experience fever of 40 degrees Celsius or higher, headache, muscle pain, and bone and joint pain. Some people may also experience nausea, pain behind the eyes, swollen glands, vomiting, sore throat, rash, and diarrhea.
So you can see that it's a range of symptoms that can present, and therefore, when you initially present with dengue, it may be seen as different illnesses. It may be seen as gastroenteritis, it may be seen as an upper respiratory tract infection, or it can be seen as dengue fever.
To be on the safe side and put speculations aside, Persons who start experiencing symptoms are advised to visit their health facility or doctor for medical advice and treatment. If indeed you have dengue, do not self-medicate with treatments that can worsen your illness or cause bleeding. So be sure to have a discussion about dengue with your doctor. The Health Ministry says doctors who recognize the presence of a fever should also have a high suspicion for dengue and treat with the necessary precautions. For mild cases of dengue, persons may treat themselves at home with specific types of over-the-counter medications, but heed the warning.
Fever and pain to the joints, pain to the muscles, must be treated with only medications that have cetamol, paracetamol, and Panadol. You can also use tepid sponging, fan therapy, and increased fluid to assist with decreasing the fever. Do not use medications that contain aspirin and other non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs such as ibuprofen and diclofenac. You must read your labels carefully. If you are unsure, consult your pharmacist or your doctor before using the medication.
The drugs you should not take while experiencing dengue have been known to cause and/or worsen bleeding and increase the severity of the disease. Besides the mild form of dengue, persons can also experience a more severe form called dengue hemorrhagic fever, which is a rare complication of the illness that can lead to death. Usually the fever that comes with dengue lasts for about 5 days, and it is usually when the fever is going away that persons tend to worsen. Warning signs include persons not eating, experiencing persistent vomiting, lethargy, restlessness, shortness of breath, pain in the abdomen, or tenderness in the abdomen. Persons should also look out for signs of bleeding.
Those signs of bleeding can include bleeding from the gums, bleeding in the urine, it can be bleeding in the stool. Usually though, when you start getting bleeding in the stool, in the urine and stuff, you have reached a severe point.
It is important to note that a case of severe dengue can occur without symptoms of bleeding. Also, in a case of severe dengue, there may be difficulty in maintaining hemodynamics, in which a person's blood pressure tends to drop suddenly and circulation to vital organs is affected.
With dengue, fluid tends to seep from the blood vessels to the outside of the vessels, meaning that there is decreased blood flow to vital organs. And that is why you get the symptoms of lethargy and restlessness and pain in the abdomen. What those signs are signs of decreased perfusion to the brain. It means that enough fluid is not going to the brain because persons are dehydrated. Okay? The dehydration and the signs of dehydration are very important to treat.
Persons are warned to not wait for these signs and instead go to the doctor or hospital early. People with chronic illnesses such as sickle cell are at a greater risk of experiencing severe dengue. These individuals must use precaution when taking their medications.
If you have a chronic illness that you may be taking medications for and you think that there may be some interference with dengue, you must speak to your doctor to decide whether or not you should continue to take these medications.
In order to effectively combat and limit the spread of dengue and other mosquito-transmitted illnesses, persons must eliminate mosquito breeding sites in their surroundings. Breeding sites include old tires, laundry tanks, dish drainers, covered tanks or cisterns, drums and barrels, discarded buckets and containers. Other sources are pet dishes, construction blocks, bottles, discarded tin cans, tree holes and bamboo, bottle pieces on top of walls, old shoes and flower pots. Mosquitoes can also breed in discarded toys, roof guttering, bromeliad plants, garden containers and tools, brick holes and unmaintained wading or swimming pools. Where water is stored for use, the containers must be properly covered and sealed against mosquito entry. The use of mosquito repellents containing DEET and long-sleeved clothing are also recommended for personal protection. For more information, please contact the Ministry of Health, 10 to 16 Grenada Way, Kingston 5. Call them at 876-633-8172, 876-633-7771. Information is on the web at moh.gov.jm and contact can be made by email pr@moh.gov.jm or on social media.
By order, under the Disaster Risk Management Act, you must wear a mask in all public access places and in public transportation. If you wear a mask and I wear a mask, we are all safer.
Jamaica's public gardens showcase our natural history and serve as places for relaxation. Here's more.
They offer a large serving of nature with a dash of history and science. Public gardens, created and maintained to educate Jamaicans on the importance of plant life. They also provide free green spaces to enjoy the benefits of the great outdoors. There are 4 such spaces on the island, all supported by the Ministry of Industry, Commerce, Agriculture and Fisheries. And after making our way through Bath and trekking through Castleton in the first part of our journey, we're now 4,800 feet above sea level. The Cinchona Botanical Gardens, located in the cool, moist hills of East Rural St. Andrew.
Cinchona was first established in 1868 by the then Governor Sir John Peter Grant. At that time, the gardens was used as an experimental location. Various plants from other European countries were brought here for medicinal purposes, like the eucalyptus, the camphor, and other herbs are grown up here.
Cinchona is unique as it is the only garden in the Caribbean at such a high elevation.
Cinchona got its name at the time when there was a malaria infestation on the island, and that Cinchona plant was brought to Jamaica by a governor of Peru. The Cinchona plant was used to cure the malaria by way of extracting the bark of the plant and transforming that into quinine. And they used that to work on the malaria.
There are no conservation programs at Cinchona, but if you're feeling adventurous, make the hike and study an array of exotic plants on location, including the almost 200-year-old hoop pine. Our journey ends at the largest green space in the Kingston metropolitan area. Though run by the non-governmental organization Nature Preservation Foundation, it still receives a subsidy from the government and is free to the public.
Hope Gardens comprises of 260 acres stretching from Old Hope Road to Skyline Drive, but the actual gardens is mainly 60 active acres. The garden was a gift to Major Richard Hope, who was part of the contingency of Pennant Venables who came to conquer the island in about 1655 when the English invaded and took over from the Spanish.
Hope was an experimental site. They introduced exotic plants here and replanted them on the island once successfully propagated. Offspring of these plants remain in the garden.
We have the cannonball tree, which is native to the Amazon rainforest, that bears a fruit that takes 18 months to ripe, and it also weighs about 15 pounds. We also have the sausage tree, and that fruit can weigh anywhere between 15 to 27 pounds, and it really does look like a huge German sausage. The tree is native to West Africa, in Senegal.
Hope is vital in the conservation of the island's wildlife and flora.
We have a particular project in which we go to the cockpit country and get endemic plants, take them back to Hope Gardens, grow them and reintroduce them into the wild. The zoo also has a world-famous iguana project in which they have rediscovered the local Jamaican iguana, bred them successfully in captivity, and have introduced over 400 native iguanas into the hills of Helsha.
This garden is usually bustling with activities. Family gatherings, professional photography, and school excursions are among the popular happenings.
The Chinese Garden is also a special place within the Hope Gardens. It was a gift, a $3 million gift from the People's Republic of China to the people and government of Jamaica.
I like about Hope Gardens is that you are free. You can do anything you want. You can paint, you can play, you can go to the zoo, like see the animals.
My group came here because we have a history group project. We thought that coming to the Hope Gardens would be a good idea, especially on a Sunday, because on a Sunday it's quiet and I think it's very conducive to practice. There's greenery and it's an open space. So, you know, you get a nice fresh breath of air while you're here, and it's, I think it helps you to focus more on what you need to do.
Hope Gardens is a getaway for persons wanting a break from the hustle and bustle of city life. A visit to public gardens provides this opportunity. Nature beckons. What are you waiting for?
Elections in Jamaica are now monitored under the campaign financing legislation. Therefore, I implore all candidates, political parties and contributors to adhere to the requirements.
Candidates in an election may spend up to $15 million and registered political parties up to $630 million. Candidates, political parties and contributors who fail to disclose are guilty of an offense and liable to charges and/or a term of imprisonment.
The transparency and effectiveness of our democratic process requires you to be informed and involved.
A message from the Electoral Commission of Jamaica.
It's on that note we end our journey through the pages of this edition of Jamaica Magazine. Be sure to join us again tomorrow for another show. Until then, continue to watch this and other programs by logging on to our website, jis.gov.jm, or subscribing to our YouTube channel. You may also find us on all the major social media platforms and through our mobile app that's Android and iOS compatible. On behalf of the entire production team, I'm Carrie-Ann Smith-McIntosh, urging you to stay COVID-19 free.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.